Hello, I'm Rob Simmons, and this is Numberwang and the Blockchain, Episode 1, Guessing Games. I've never met a joke that I couldn't ruin by taking it too seriously and explaining it in great detail. Here's a joke. Computers yelling Numberwang at each other is my absolute favorite description of blockchain. Let's take that too seriously, and then explain it in great detail. Part 1. Numberwang was a running gag in the British sketch comedy show That Mitchell and Webb Look. The sketches involved Julie, who is from Somerset, and Simon, who is from space. Julie and Simon would guess numbers in an apparently arbitrary sequence and then be told, "That's Numberwang," winning points and fabulous prizes. So that's Numberwang. It's great. You should watch it. You're already on YouTube. Done? Good. Part 2. Cryptographic hash functions are sometimes treated as mystical objects. They're not. A hash function is just a function that takes integers and returns other integers, just like the Fibonacci sequence function or the factorial function. SHA-3-256 is one cryptographic hash function that takes any number you give it and returns an integer between 0 and about 1/10 of a tridecillion. If you know your powers of 2, maybe you'll recognize this as 2 to the power of 256. Here's an example. 557,197,155 is a number, and the result of passing it through the hash function is 4,132 sept to dec? You know what, it doesn't matter. We don't usually think about hash functions operating on integers like this because we work with other equivalent representations. We can represent 557,197,155 in binary, and we can represent 4,000 whatever with 256 bits, adding extra zeros to the beginning if needed. These binary sequences can also be chopped into groups of 4 and represented in hexadecimal with 0010 representing 2, etc. And sometimes we can take these binary sequences, chop them into sequences of 8 bits, and represent them in ASCII. 557,197,155 corresponds to the character sequence, ! 6, single quote, and lowercase c. This isn't always possible because most sequences of 8 bits don't correspond to printable ASCII characters. So instead of grouping bits into groups of 8, I'm going to do something unusual and group them into groups of 5. Each sequence of 5 bits represents a number between 0 and 32. And then we say A is 0, B is 1, C is 2. You've played this game before. With this encoding, which is unusual but still quite sensible, the output of our hash function is always 52 characters. They just don't all fit on the screen. Remember, this is a real example, but also notice that it starts with Berlin. A really important fact about cryptographic hash functions is that you can't make the output look like anything in particular except by guessing a lot and getting lucky. To get a number whose hash starts with Berlin, you have to just guess numbers over and over, running them through the hash function and then seeing if they start with Berlin. You'd expect that this would take you about 1 billion guesses. I cheated and just looked for any 6-letter word, not necessarily Berlin, so that was easier. But to emphasize, if you want the result of a cryptographic hash to look like anything in particular, you just have to guess numbers over and over and over until you get the desired result. This is pretty much how Numberwang works. There. That's the joke. Part 3. Numberwanghash.glitch.me is a real website you can really go to. When you do, your computer will hash different numbers over and over until it comes up with a hash that includes, as a subsequence, NUMBERWANG. And that's Numberwang. The results from this website are all Numberwang in 2 ways, because the result is a string representing a number in ASCII. The ASCII string containing the number 223,607 is also a binary sequence, which encodes the number 55,191,188,942,903, and that's Numberwang. So I teach computer science independently. If you want to learn computer science starting from the very beginning, or you want to learn about other interesting ideas like program correctness, compilers, or if you insist, the blockchain, then you can pay me and I'll teach you. Go to my website, Calculemus, to learn more. I'm Rob, and until next time, stay Numberwang.